Okay, friends, good morning. Kesuvos Daf Kofhei. We're going to do something a little different now. We're going to have an Iyun share on Gemara we didn't learn yet. But don't worry, you don't have to know much. On Thursday night, we did Kuf Daled and the first half of Kuf Hey Amud Aleph. Tonight, we're going to do the second half of Kuf Hey Amud Aleph and Kuf Hey Amud Beis. It's mostly Agadata Gemara. It's about Dayanim, judges, not taking ribis. That ribis is very harmful. Not only will it blind the Dayan from seeing the respective merit and demerit of the litigants properly, but more than that, it will literally cause physical blindness to the Dayan. Okay, so the Gemara even says, and you just have to know a little bit of the Gemara. I'll put it up on the... the Gemara says on V'shoichad lo sikach, is shoichad only asur if you intend to take a bribe to judge wrongly? What if you take a bribe to judge correctly? V'hatanya v'shoichad lo sikach ma tam leimer im lelamed shloi lizakos as a chayv lo lechayv as zakai. If the pasuk is saying not to render innocent the guilty and vice versa, harei kvar nemer lo yisata mishpat, it says don't pervert the justice. So why does it have to say lo yisikach shoichad? We know you're not allowed to give a wrong court case. You're not allowed to give a wrong ruling. Ella afilu lazakos esazaki l'chayv zachayv. Even to take a bribe to issue the correct verdict. Amra Torah v'shoichad lo yisikach. Okay, so the bottom line is you're not allowed to take a bribe, not only to pervert the verdict, but even to judge correctly. The question is, once a bribe is offered, you're not allowed to judge the case. You're disqualified from judging the case. But there's a very big chakira in the parameters of the Isra of taking a bribe. Is the Isra to take the bribe? Or is the Yisr after you were bribed to adjudicate the case? What that means, the nafkamina would be, let's say you're not going to adjudicate the case. Could you keep the money? Let's say you're a dayan. Somebody offers you $1 million. Oh, sorry, I can't do it. Okay, can't do it. So you're not going to judge the case. Could you keep the money? He gave you the money. There's a rule, I'Avid loy mahani. There's a concept in Shas, it's a Gemara in Temura, that when the Torah says don't do something, if you try to do it, it's not effective, it doesn't work. The Rambam has a wondrous chiddush. The Rambam says in Perek Chaf Gimel of Hilchos Sanhedrin, lo yisikach shoichad, do not take a bribe. Ein tzarich leimer la'aves hasadin. It goes without saying you're not allowed to take a bribe to pervert the din. Even to judge correctly, asar. V'oiver b'loisase, you're over alav. V'harehu b'chlal arer loikeach shoichad. This is included in the prohibition. Cursed is he who takes shoichad. V'chayiv lahachzir hashoichad k'sheyisve'enu hanoisein. You need to return the bribe when the giver claims the money. Okay. The problem is, where'd the Rambam get this from? Why do you have to return it? You know, the Torah says by Gezela, V'heshav esagzela. The Torah didn't say V'heshav esagzela. Maybe you only get Malchus. Maybe you wouldn't have to return it. Nowhere does the Torah say you have to return the bribe. Why do you have to return the bribe? Why do you have to return? The guy gave it to you. Say he gave it to you only on condition that you adjudicate the case. I don't know why he gave it to you. He didn't say why he gave it to me. I'm a judge. I was judging his case. He wrote me out a check. Why do I have to give back to him? He didn't make a stipulation. Maybe if he makes a stipulation, I'm only giving it to you if you... Okay, so he gave it to me on that condition. He didn't make a condition. The Rambam says at a left field that a dayan has to return the bribe. Where did the Rambam get this from? Kain Kosav a Rambam Perek Chaf Gimel Sanhedrin V'koi Akol Shoichad Af belakhay lezakas asazaka yamashim einoi toivai. Now the Rambam's mashav, he doesn't claim it. Ein tzarach lachzira afilu lakhay la'aves hasadit. The Rambam says if the guy doesn't claim it, you don't have to return it, even if he gave the bribe for you to pervert the din. The kivan sha noisin einoi toivai. Im kein moichala, if the noisin is not toivaya it, so he's moichal. You could be Michael just like you're Michael Gezel. Because Rambam din ribis sheyotzis nam v'dayanim imratzalim chamoicha v'din ribis v'shechat shavim the yotzim v'dayanim av me'eno tovay have a mechila. V'yigal ha'akshis de menole la Rambam the shechat yotzim v'dayanim. Where did the Rambam get that you could demand shechat back? To me ribis leimatzilma. If you can't learn it from ribis. There's a special Gzeres HaKosov you have to return ribis. There's no Gzeres HaKosov you have to return shaychad. Where did the Rambam get that if a judge is offered a bribe, he has to give it back? Why would he have to give it back? The guy didn't. Why? Because the person who gave it is demanding it back? He didn't say, I'm only giving it to you if you do what I ask you. He gave it. That's what, you have to have some savvy when you give a bribe. You can't say, oh, by the way, I'm giving this to you. It's understood what a bribe is for. So why do you have to give it back? By ribis, you only have to give it back because you have Gzeres HaKosov. Says the Bach, V'yeshlemer, the Sri El Rambam, that even ribis, you don't need Gzeres HaKosov. Nami lo yitzurkra lahachi. Depshitahi, kivan de amar achmana. Since the merciful one wrote as kas v'chaloi siten loy beneshech, don't give ribis. I avar v'nasan gezelhu. If the guy violated and gave it, it's stealing. Ubayla mahader. The kivan de kamar achmana loy savid. Since the Torah said don't do it, I avid loy mahani. If you did it, it doesn't help. The Bach goes on to say, by ribis, maybe we need the pasuk v'chei achicha imach, that you give it back for a different reason. But umina de b'shaychad, look, second line from the bottom. But by bribes, lo yitzukra. I don't need a pasuk. You have to give it back. The pshitahi, kivan de amar achmana lo yisikach. Since the Torah says don't take a bribe, I avar v'lakach. If the dayan took the bribe, it didn't work. He wasn't kainet. You hear what he's saying? I have to give it back because I wasn't kainet. You gave me a bribe, but the Torah says I'm not allowed to take a bribe. So if I'm not allowed to take it, I can't make a kinyan on it. If I can't make a kinyan, it's still yours. I have to give it back. The Bach is invoking the principle kol Kivan de Amar Rachmana loy savid I avad loy mahani. There is no way to make a kinyan on a bribe. Why? Because the Torah says you're not allowed to take it. If you're not allowed to take it, it doesn't work. By the way, if you look in Shulchan Aruch paskins ma'oid tzarach shel hadayin lizar shaloi likach shoichad afil lezakas zazakev im lakchoy tzarach lahachziroi. You have to return it. Says the Gra. Oh, I might have gotten cut off. Says the Gra. Why do you have to return it? Yeah, it got cut off. Over here, it says the Gra, Temura Dalet Amid Beis Rava Amar. So what's he referring to? He's referring to the Gemara in Temura Dalet Amid Beis. Amar Abaye, Komil Sad Amar Rachmana Loi Sa'avid Im Avid Mahani. Abaye said, any matter that the merciful one said don't do, if you did it, it works. Because if it's not effective, then why do you get malchus? You didn't do anything. Rava Amar loy mahani midi, and it doesn't work. It's not effective. And why do you get malchus? Because you violated the word of God. And the Gemara says, Abaye and Rava argue about Ribis Ketsutza, whether it's Yoitza B'Dayanim. Yoitza B'Dayanim means, Rava holds, Ribis Ketsutza, the Dayanim will take it away from the Malva. So the Gemara is saying, like the Bach, that just like by Ribis Ketsutza, if you give someone Ribis, they cannot keep it. You can get it back in the court. Likewise, if you give a dayan a bribe, he cannot keep it. You could take him to court and you will get it back. Why? Because since the Torah says you're not allowed to give it, there's no way to give a bribe. It's not shaykh to give a bribe. The dayan was never koine the bribe. Because the Torah says you can't do it, so therefore he's not koine it. So here's an interesting question. Is giving a bribe lav sheyesh by maisa or lav she'ein by maisa? Lav sheyesh by maisa. So then why do you get malchus for giving a bribe? No. No. Why not? Why don't you get malchus for giving a bribe? But if you say, like the Rambam seems to be paskening, that it's nitain lehishavain, it has to be returned, then it's basically the same way by gezela, there's no malchus because it's nitain lehishavain. Shoichad, there's no malchus because it's nitain lehishavain. The Minchas Chinuch says, "V'ikar adin detzarach lahachsar shoichad." The din that you have to return a bribe, loy herak Kesuvos makara may Iyun yotzel Rambam din zed. Kesuvos doesn't show where the Rambam got this from. Kiman deleka asay, there's no asay to return the bribe. Kamay gezela v'ribis. By gezela there's an asay v'heshav asa hagzela. V'ribis there's an asay v'chei achicha. Uminolan dechai ba'ashava. And even karka. The Minchas Chinuch holds that it doesn't say if you steal land you have to return it. There it's because Bershusa Demare Isa, you can never steal it in the first place. It's not an exeles. But here where the litigant gave it as a matana, but the Torah asers it, and by ribis there's a mitzvah saseh to return, but there's no mitzvah saseh to return shoichad. So the Minchas Chinuch says v'hanir l'niyas daiti b'tam. It's Iyun and Tmura, where the Gemara wants to say the chiluk between Kol Misl Damar Rachmana Lo Savri Avid Lo Mahani Avid Mahani Inyan Ribis Ketsutza, that according to Abaye you can't extract it because Avid Mahani, and according to Rava you could. And then the Gemara says no, they argue about the pasuk V'chai Achicha Imach. So here where there's no pasuk, according to Rav who holds the Avid Loy Mahani, you have to give back the shoichad. Why? Because Kol Muslim Rachman Loy Savidi Avid Loy Mahani. That's why the Rambam paskins you have to return shoichad. In that case, we understand why there's no malchus, because it's nitain lihishavain. It's something that could be returned. It becomes like gezela. In that case, the Minchas Chinuch says that a giving back shoichad is an absolute chayv, and your menechasim are meshubed to give back the shoichad, and the Yarshim would have to pay like any gezela. And then it would come out that you don't get malchus because it's nitain lehishavain. So this is a very interesting makar for the Rambam, that you have to return shaychad, namely because since the Torah says you're not allowed to give it, your giving it is not effective and you can't make a kinyan on it. The Maramshik has a different take on this. The Maramshik disagrees. The Maramshik says the Torah, the Isser is not taking shaychad. If the Isser was don't take shaychad, then if you took shaychad, it's ineffective. In other words, the Minchas Chinuch and the Bach and the Gra, who are understanding the Rambam that the reason why you have to return shaychad is because the Torah says don't take shaychad, so there's no way to make a kinyan on it, and they're marshalling the Gemara of Kol Milsa de Amar Rachmana loy Savedi Avid loy Mahani. They understand the Isser of shaychad is you're not allowed to take shaychad. Now take shaychad, there's no way to be kind of shaychad. But the Maramshik says they're wrong. There's no avera to take shaychad. The avera is you're now to judge the case if you took the shaychad. So the Torah doesn't say don't take shaychad, the Torah says don't judge. So I'm not judging, but I'm keeping the bribe that you gave me. So therefore the din of Kol Milsa Amar Rachmana Lo Saved Yavid Lo Mahani does not apply here. In fact, the Maramshik adds, the Isser of taking the money is only if you're going to pervert the justice.
I understand. If he doesn't judge the case, then it's not shaychad in the first place.
But it was given to him. He was the judge, and it was given as a bribe. So since it was given as a bribe, he can't judge the case. So now what does he do with the money? Could he keep the money? The Rambam says he still can't keep the money. So he's saying if the Isser is to judge the case, I'm not judging the case to begin with. Well, you're not judging anymore because you were given a bribe. The Isser is when you're given a bribe, you can't judge the case. So now what? Now the guy's stuck with a bribe. Is he allowed to keep it? The Rambam still says you're not allowed to keep it. So if it's because Avid Loy Mahani, that l'chayra only makes sense if the Isser is to take the money. The Maramshik says like this. I don't know, it didn't make it to the sheets here. He says, V'im Kain, he says the Isser of taking shaychad is shaychad will blind you. The Torah is telling you that even though you're taking it to be mezaka the zakai and to mechayev the chayev, ultimately you'll come to be ma'avis the mishpat. Like Chazal say, we'll see, why is it called shaychad? You and the baldin are nasachad. You become like one. You become nageh b'davar. So the Maramshik says, it's not because Kol Milsa d'Amar Rachmana Lo Yavid Lo Mahani, because that's only if the matter is Asr Machmas Atzmai. It's not Asr Machmas Atzmai to take the shaychad. It's only because the Torah is Yared L'Seif Datai that you're going to come to Ma'avis the Mishpat. So he says, since Lekichas Shaychad is only Asr Misham Ivas Mishpat and it's not Asr Mitzad Atzmai, we don't say Yavid Lo Mahani. But still, you still wouldn't get Malkus, he says, even though technically you don't have to return it, because the Gemar Ha'isser is not when you take the shaychad. The Gemar Ha'isser is when you judge the case. So it's like a lav she'im by maisa. Taking the shaychad is like a lav she'im by maisa because you didn't do the isser yet. But then he concludes that you still have to return the money. Why? Let's say you took the shaychad and you judged the case. Is the din valid or not? the Bali Dinim could be chayzer. So if the guy gave it to you, amanas, to judge the din, and it's not a din, you have to return. Because he only gave it to you, al dasa, you should be dan the din. That I don't really hear that. What do you mean he only gave it to you? He didn't, we don't know why he gave it to you. Anyway, the Maram Shik doesn't accept the approach of the Bach, the Gemara, and the Minchas Chinuch, that it's, you have to return it als kol musam rachmano lo savri avloi mahani. That approach is, the Torah says don't take shaychad. So if the Torah says don't take shaychad, there's no way to effectively be koine it. Therefore, it's not yours. It's the original person. So you have to return to him what belongs to him. Maram Shik says that doesn't apply here. That only applies to something that's asr machmas atzmai. This is asr because of another reason, that we're afraid you might not judge correctly. But here, you have to give it back because he gave it to you to judge a judgment, and there is no judgment here because you're naigea b'davar. But I don't know if that's so pasha that he only gave it to you for that. He didn't say why he gave it to you. Anyway, that's the sugya of lekichas shoichad. That pashtos, most achronim say it has to be returned because of the yesod of kol mos amra rachmana lo savri aveloi mahani. Rabbi Say, have a great rest of your Sunday. Join us tonight, Kuf Hey Amad Aleph, second half, and Kuf Hey Amad Beis, and Bracha Latzlacha. Okay? Have a great day. Thank you very much.